Welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. John, how you doing on this Wednesday morning? It's good to be back in our normal 8 to 10 a.m. slot. Feels like it's been a little bit, John.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Training camp's got to keep going. It's a grind, especially with these night shows. But, hopefully a couple days back in the normal time slot. People are creatures of habit. I expect to hit four figures live today. It's not going good starting out. I want to hit four figures live today.
Come on, we need four figures live, which means everybody's got to hit that like button, hit the share button. All right, get some other people in here. Great to see everybody in here this morning. We're wrapped up now. 10 days of training camp, everybody. We're now 1 day before the very first preseason game. So whatever you think of preseason, it does mean the Eagles are going to take the field for the first time. So we'll be looking at that. John, what are you thinking after 10 days, man? 10 days of practice. We came in with a lot of questions, a lot of things that we talked about all summer long right here on Birds 365. And now 10 days through, how have your thoughts, your processes, your expectations, and your assumptions about this team shifted, if at all?
I would say nothing has shifted offensively. I think they've been rock solid. I think, there wasn't much uncertainty. There isn't much uncertainty. I think everything's going to plan there. If anything, Saquon has somehow looked better. So I barely even, I barely even pay attention to the offense at practice, to be honest. And I'm hyper focused on the defense because of all the changes. And from that perspective, I think it's a little bit less than I was hoping for. Thought Kaylee Ringo would seize the job, and they're trading for a corner, and was always concerned about edge. I don't think there's any clarity there. Linebacker, I'm not too worried about because Zach will be back, Zach Vaughn. And I like Cooper DeJean at safety in the base defense. And, that guy's just, he's a special player, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he can do anything. He can, and everything, who knows if Benaiah Smith doesn't get the punt return job, he might do that again. He's the backup holder. He's just one of those guys that can do anything. So I don't think he's going to have any problem toggling between safety and slot corner at all. And, I think in more injury related, but the hope of Makuba stepping up and being a day one starter is sort of withering at least a little bit. Maybe he can turn that around when he gets into preseason action, whether that's Thursday, tomorrow, or next week. Maybe he can turn that around. But so I would say offense as expected, defense a little bit, but maybe it was too pie in the sky to hope that certain young players would make that kind of big impact early in training camp.
Yeah, speaking of the youth, John, have you noticed any big difference in camp this year versus previous years you've covered? Not just the Eagles, but at large in the NFL. This is a young team, man. Most teams do try and balance, the veteran player with the young player, and obviously when you have it's part of roster building. You can't pay everybody. We all know how that works, and that's kind of what's happened on the defense, from a sense that everybody on offense is paid and everybody on defense is on a rookie contract or a cheap player outside of Zach Vaughn, really, is it. So have you noticed any big difference in that, from that perspective about the way the team operates, the way the defense is operating, or do you think that's not going to be an issue? Because I did wonder, before training camp, hey, did we go too young? I know you want to be young. Do you want to go too? Did we go too young? I think was a fair question. Have you noticed anything on that in that regard?
I think if that is going to show up, it'll show up during the season in times of adversity, because I do think there's something to having Brandon Graham around and Slay around and guys like that. And now you're really relying on young players to be step into those leadership spots. Depending on the room, it's Jordan Davis, it's Nolan Smith, it's Nakobe Dean, it's and Zach Bond to a certain degree, and Reed Blankenship. That's a young leadership group. It's going to be interesting to see who the captains are. I would bet a lot of money on Reed Blankenship being a defensive captain. I would have bet a lot of money on Nakobe Dean, but maybe the injury ships that to somebody like Zach Bond. There was that little story about CJ when he was coming in, and it was from CJ himself, and giving Josh Jobe a little bit of as CJ's want to do, a little bit of shit. And Josh was a rookie at the time. And everybody was looking at different aspects of that story and different aspects of what CJ said. And I honed in on that because of what he said. And Jobe immediately went to Slay to try to smooth things over, showing the leadership that he had over that room.
Right.
That's stuff that's tough to figure out how it's going to be. So that to me, well, you lost two guys who have a ton of experience and were tremendous leaders. But as I always say, as important as that is, I'd rather have good players. And that, the bigger part was they were good players.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'd always rather have good players. But yeah, I mean, it's fair to say, are these guys ready to take on those leadership roles? I mean, if you go back a year, you had Fletcher Cox in the interior defensive line room. I mean, that's a big difference. And obviously Jason Kelsey, but they won a Super Bowl without those guys. But they still had the Grahams and the Slays, etc. Even Josh Sweat. So and they don't this year. So that's a valid question, but that's one that'll probably show up during the season.
Yeah, who do you think will be that guy, that Slay in that secondary room? I agree, it's going to be Reed, but do you think he?
Yeah, overall, in
yeah.
In the cornerback group, it almost has to be
Coop.
You would think it would almost have to be Adoree if he's here because
Right.
of the experience. But yeah, if not,
based on what we talked about yesterday.
Well, if you're
from number 2 to number 7.
If you're going to move on from Adoree Jackson, yeah, then it's got to be one of your 2 second-year corners.
Right.
I mean,
Cooper Quignon.
And of the two, because Quignon's so quiet, I would think it would be Cooper, but that's a lot to put on his plate. But he can do everything, so why can't he do that?
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening, man. It's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here this morning, back in our Wednesday, our morning time slot here. And then we have Jeff Kerr coming up this morning. And that, because you guys know, Mike Gill, world traveler, he is no longer in.
He's in Lisbon, Portugal.
No longer in the States, Mike Gill. So,
which, by the way, we better have a. I don't know what's the time difference in Lisbon. I assume 6 hours or so, but we better have one viewer from Lisbon. No, yeah, I'm sure Mike's busy doing stuff.
I think it's 5 hours. You're right on the money. It's 1:13 there, which would make it 5 hours. Yeah, make it 5 hours. So 5 hours ahead of us. 1:13 in Lisbon right now. And
we get a lot. We get a lot of European listeners though. So hopefully we got some Lisbon listeners.
Yeah, good stuff there. Appreciate that. Joe says 6. I think it's, I don't know. I looked it up. It says it's 1 o'clock there. So I thought 5. Maybe it's 6. Who knows? Good stuff there. And we got Jeff Kerr in hour number 1. And then in hour number 2, we got BLG, Brandon Lee Gouton. So our usual Wednesday suspect there. So I'm looking forward to talking to both of those guys. BLG's been down there. Jeff's been down there most days too, hasn't he?
Yeah. The vast majority. I missed a day or two, but the vast majority's been
well, Jeff wears many hats. Right?
Yeah, he covers the Phillies, covers the NFL nationally. So yeah, he's got a lot on the plate, and evidently he's got to celebrate birthdays. Jeff's still in that mode. I'm like, dude, got to work. Now I'm older, obviously
Wait, what do you mean?
He had 2 birthdays. He had his mother's birthday dinner, which is, that's understandable. You want to
Yeah, you
take your
always got
mama.
to celebrate the
Yeah,
mama.
you got to take him out. But
Yeah.
then he had his own birthday dinner. I'm like, come on, dude.
I saw that somewhere. I forget where I saw that.
Come
It's like
on.
you don't become a man until you get over your birthday.
Yeah.
You realize you gotta fucking work.
All my birthday means is I'm a year closer to being 6 feet under. You don't celebrate at a certain point.
Yeah, I understand that. What
But
month is your birthday? Did we just pass it recently?
June, yeah, June.
Oh, June. Shoot, we didn't even give you. We
Well,
didn't even give you the shit.
I don't make a big deal out of it
Yeah,
because why
we
would
didn't
I?
publicize it for you.
Yeah, why would I? But
Everybody remember that. All right. Next June, we'll try and figure out what day, John, and see
shouldn't
if his
even have said
mood
that.
changes even a little, 1%. See if we can
Well,
figure
it's
out.
not. It's it. If anything, it's going to change 1% in a negative way, as Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith. It's
no,
funny.
that's a bleak outlook. You got to have a little bit more optimism.
Nolan Smith is the first player I've ever heard that admitted he got 1% worse at practice. So I give Nolan a lot of credit.
Yeah, but Nolan's the one guy that's allowed to say that, and I don't think a thing of it because he's going up against a Hall of Fame left tackle.
No, I just thought it was interesting that he admitted it. I've never heard anybody admit that before, and I applaud him for it, by the way.
Yeah, that was funny. He's like, you got to get 1% better every day. Today, I got 1% worse.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, I like when players are honest.
Any surprising players, John, for you so far through 10 days? Anybody that's looked good that you've been pleasantly surprised by?
Well, of the young players, I think Jihad has been impressive in his way, athleticism, length. You can see all the traits that made the Eagles kind of fall in love with him. Obviously, injuries have affected Makuba, Ty Robinson. I would say a little bit disappointing, not the end of the world, but Mac McWilliams has been impressive for where he was, or what was expected of him. He's got good instincts, which I find, when players impress early, it's the guys with instincts. You look at Quinion last year, Cooper. They have great instincts. Mac, I think Mac has great instincts. I don't want to compare him to them, but
no, I know what you're saying. Though. Yeah, just at base level, he does seem to be a good instinctive player. Yeah. Any concern on that injury? Some people. One person came in the chat, and I don't know if I didn't think they were right, but hey, maybe Mac McWilliams' injury is no good, and they lost the depth. Another depth piece at corner, and that's probably maybe why they brought in Ja'Cory Bennett. I didn't think that was the case.
No,
but,
Mac's already back. He was back yesterday. So he got back pretty quick. Limited, but he was back in team drills. So, so he should be better. They might hold him out of the preseason game as a precaution, but he'll be back after. So no issues from that. He's already back from that injury. Kyle McCord's impressed me from day one with his processing for a rookie quarterback. To me, it's just unbelievable how quickly he processes and gets rid of the ball, because that is just rare with the young quarterbacks. So I think that's a positive. But you're talking about the third string quarterback, and I think Drew Kendall. It surprised me that they've taken so long, but I think we're at the point where he's going to be the second team center, the backup center. So I think things are going well there. Darius Cooper's a player I love, that dude. And I was talking to an Eagles executive at practice yesterday, and he said that effing kid keeps making plays. He is gifted, and he went to Tarleton State, so it's one of those things where, but he just keeps making plays. Now, obviously, it's down on the depth chart. He's not going to make the team, but I'm talking about the practice squad. But he's when you talk about, I think a lot of people have forgotten the pre-AJ, pre-Devontae time, where this team couldn't find a wide receiver to save its life. And, you got guys who aren't even going to make the team who look impressive. Giles Jackson as well.
Yeah, a couple of these guys you've I've heard a lot about.
Yeah. But
Not a
Cooper
lot,
is
but just that they look better than better than practice squad
yeah.
players, or at least
Cooper's
they could.
Darius Cooper's really not, because when I say Cooper, people automatically go to Cooper DeJean, but
Yeah.
Darius Cooper is really explosive. I mean, just as Howie would say, he's twitchy.
Are they sure they want to keep Anaya Smith and Johnny Wilson over these guys?
Yeah, they're sure. I'm not sure. They seem to be.
John, who was the viewer we had that said he had one of the undrafted wide receivers? It wasn't Darius Cooper, was it? Remember Rashid Mixon, who checked in the one day and he said,
That was a
nephew
triout. That was a tryout guy. Who,
okay, I didn't know
that
if
was
it was
back
Darius.
at rookie camp.
Yeah, right.
No, Darius was signed. He was signed right away as an undrafted free agent. Giles Jackson was at the rookie camp and was a tryout player, and they signed him off the rookie camp.
Yeah,
that was a local kid who was here as a tryout player. But yeah, he's been really impressive, and he just keeps making plays. Now it's third team again, third team against third team. But
yeah.
When you're talking about, especially with tomorrow in the preseason game, you're going to see a lot of them. Hopefully, he can show it with live reps.
Yeah, baby, I can't wait to see that. How much you think Tanner McKee will play tomorrow?
Boy, I asked Nick about Tanner at the end of his press conference. He might play a quarter. He might not play.
You're not going to play the backup quarterback?
I think he will.
They're going to deprive us of even the backup?
I think he'll play
a quarter. You got to be fucking kidding me.
I think he'll play a quarter, but I wouldn't surprise me at all if he doesn't play.
Oh my Lord! I hope he gets at least a quarter. Come on, man.
I mean, you got Thompson Robinson, you got Kyle McCord.
John, it's not for any other reason but for him, man. Let him put some tape out there. Let him try and do something to so people know who he is.
Well, yeah,
maybe
they don't want to risk it.
Yeah, I guess.
So I mean, and again, he'll probably play a quarter or that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't, just from Nick's answer.
Right.
And he was kind of saying, because I basically asked, he's taking a big step up. Do you need to see him in live reps? And he said, well, that's downgrading essentially practice and that stuff and the work we do in practice, and it's all important and that kind of thing. So just the way he spoke about it, I'm like, are they not going to play Tanner McKee? So we'll see. I think they will. I want to make that clear, but it would not surprise me if they don't.
You sensed a little bit there. Your radar's going off. We'll see. We'll be following along. Slagger checks in. He says, "How is APR doing, J-Mac?" I bring that name up, John, because you said something interesting about him yesterday. Maybe on the chopping block, maybe not. Maybe a practice squad guy. I don't know if they'll get him through waivers. We'll see about that. What have you seen from APR? Just kind of the way that room has developed and what the outlook might be for that player.
Yeah, nothing basically. Hasn't gotten off the third team, and I think when they brought in Agbo, the middle-sized O, that really hurt APR because he's not getting many reps. Now, to your point, Howie doesn't like cutting draft picks, and he's going to get plenty of playing time in the preseason. And if he starts to show up and he gets a couple sacks, then it'll turn into Howie will say, I don't think we can get him through waivers, and they'll keep him on the 53, which I could definitely see that, because you can probably cut Agbo and put him on the practice squad. He's vested. He doesn't have to go through waivers. So you can play the wink game, which I say all the time. And I think they're going to do that at a lot of positions and keep the young guy on the initial 53 and make these backroom deals with these veterans who don't have to go through waivers to get them on the practice squad early, and then adjust. Everybody's got 3 elevations. So if, God forbid, they needed APR to play, he wouldn't play. They would just elevate Agbo from the practice squad for 3 games. And then if need be, put him on the 53. And by that time, guys are getting hurt and banged up, and it usually works out. But if he doesn't do anything in the preseason, he might feel comfortable just putting him on waivers, and a lot of it has to do with your relationship with the players. Like, some guys might be insulted by that and say, no, I'm going to go negotiate somewhere else and go sign somewhere else. So, but I mean, Agbo was cut and
Right, like they
brought
don't
in.
have to sign with the practice squad. If
No,
yeah.
no. That's a negotiation, but obviously the Eagles are very good at that and usually have good relationships, and they tend to be able to get that stuff done. So, but he hasn't done much at all in practice, and really hasn't gotten off the third team for the most part. And but they have a lot of bodies.
Yeah, they
They
do.
have to look at Uche and Ojulari and Agbo, who are ahead of them. But even O'Shawn Mathis is ahead of him, which is probably not the best thing. And he's clearly a better player, O'Shawn.
Yeah. I saw O'Shawn. I think O'Shawn Mathis's mother is a watcher of ours, I think. I don't know. She retweeted.
He's a big dude. He's powerful. That's a guy. He'll be here. I don't think he's going to make the roster, the initial 53, but he'll be back on the practice squad.
Yeah.
And I haven't even mentioned Patrick Johnson. I should mention Patrick Johnson because that's a guy who's can help in a lot of ways.
And he was kind of in this situation last year. Remember, weren't they thinking of keeping him? And then they,
well, they did keep him. He made the initial 53, but then they had some issues, some roster issues, and they had to waive him. And they kind of knew they were going to lose him, and they did lose him. I think the Giants were very high on the
Giants poked in
the waiver wire. So he didn't last long on the waiver wire.
And we wondered, John, if that was going to be a concern when we were running with a 3-man rotation. We were saying, hey, man, Patrick Johnson would be nice right now, but it ended up working out.
Well, Vic's a little bit different. Like that would have really hurt the Eagles in the Jim Schwartz years. So, sometimes it's tough to get off the mentality of the organization when they change coaching staffs. Like Jim would have played a fourth guy, just would have.
Right.
And Vic's like, well, we only got 3. We'll play 3.
Yeah, right.
They're young, and they should be able to handle it.
I don't want to play 3, but if I have to, I will.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He didn't want to, but he didn't feel comfortable, and that's the way it went.
All right, 2 super chats, John. Before we get to Jeff Kerr, let's get to him now. Prince checking in. What's up, Prince? J-Mac, who has been an inmate in Guantanamo Bay? I thought it was Guantanamo Bay, or is it Guantanamo?
I don't know. Who cares? But no one, because he generally is matched up with AJ and Devontae. So that's just a great matchup from play to play. And he's holding up against 2 of the best receivers in football. And Devontae was talking about it yesterday, and he said he makes everything difficult. So nobody, but he's not, they don't even throw at him when somebody, unless it's AJ and Devontae. So I guess when I say nobody, everybody but AJ and Devontae. But 90% of the time he's lined up against those guys. So those guys win their share of the battles. I'd still say they win most of the battles because it's geared towards the offense, but he makes it difficult, and that's impressive.
We'll see what ends up happening there. One more super chat to get to here. Caleb checking in. Up 2 more. Sorry. Caleb, what's up, brother? Good to see you in here, Caleb. Caleb says, I called it after the Browns game. Z, you remember. Yes, I do. I think it's on tape, my friend. I think it's on tape right here on JAKIB Sports when you join the post-game show. Run the ball. Man on the mountain. Hurts for MVP this season. I expect more passing this year. It's a bold claim, but I had it.
Oh, that's a bolder claim than run the ball, because Caleb, you're like every Eagles fan for the past 30 years. I mean, that's all Eagles fans have been saying, to the point Nick had to, shouldn't have, but had to try to quell the drunken guy behind the bench. And was that the Cleveland game? It might have been the Cleveland game.
That was the Cleveland game. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not unique in Philadelphia, but saying I expect more passing is more unique than the fan mentality of run the football, which has been a thing, since the beginning of time, basically, in Eagles football.
Valencia checks in. All pro Q. Boy, that'd be crazy if Q goes to that.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all, but a lot of things go into that. Got to get interceptions, pick sixes, blah, blah, blah.
Honestly, John, it'd be great, and I'd be happy for him, but I don't even care because I'm just thrilled that the draft pick, that the 2 draft picks you used last year at corners have turned out to be who they are, and they completely changed the outlook of our deep. Can you imagine the corner room right now if one of those guys didn't hit? I mean, it's just awesome to have 2 guys that are this capable, this talented, this good, this early in their careers in Cooper and Quignon. So whether he gets all pro or not, we're happy to have him in Philly. Good stuff. Appreciate it, Valencia. Appreciate everybody for being here this morning. Hit that like button.